Could you talk a little bit about the QA, QC process expectations of the Thruway for construction? Would that be internal in the group? Do you anticipate, say, through a term agreement for an outside agency, or how is that going to be accomplished?
Quality assurance. So, when my colleague says that, you're asking about the quality assurance process at the end of construction? Is that what the question is about?
It would be during construction, construction inspection,
Okay.
special inspections, things of that nature.
Okay. And is there a specific question you have, or just the general process about it?
The general process, is it going to be internal in the group? Do you anticipate having, say, firms with an existing construction inspection term agreement represent the authority? Just curious about how that's going to be involved here.
Are you referring to during construction, any kind of construction permits that would be needed to construct or renovate any building?
That would be a component of it, I suppose, but I'm talking about day-to-day construction inspection of, oversight of, as we currently do on throughway service area, roofs, things of that nature.
At this time, you're contemplating a likely a consultant inspector. It may be through a term agreement, but we haven't determined that yet. So certainly, if you want to submit that in writing, we'll respond to that formally.
Thank you, I will.
Can you speak generally to, and I'll throw out a couple, mock questions here to help you frame this, but to the nature of the ideal long-term relationship. So during that 33-year leasing cycle, what does that look like between NYSTA and the operator? Specifically, what departments might the operator be working with regularly? How regular? What's that interaction look like? The PM team or committees, how is that going to be facilitated? How do you all see that playing out? With regards to asset management platforms and then long-term asset management strategy, operations and maintenance strategy, what's the involvement going to be between entity? Also capital planning strategies. I'm sure that there's something that's going to be happening on an annual basis with regards to capital planning. So what's that process? And then any approvals, gates, procedures that the operator should be aware of and be focused on. So I know that's a lot, but just generally this has to do with the relationship, really, I guess, with regards to long-term financing and long-term operation strategies.
I think, as you point out, that's a big question and has a lot of components to it. So that is something that we will get back to you in writing on, but to that end, were there any specific details that you were particularly interested in?
I think just shedding light on the general nature of that relationship. What's most conducive to you all, and what's the mindset of the operator? At least in an ideal way. I don't know if that helps, but it's just understanding the nature of that relationship over the long term versus getting to the initial, A&E.
Are there specific business aspects that you're concerned about, or more general global quality?
I think this is just interfacing between the operator and NYSTA, and what does that look like on a regular basis? Just say like an annual basis, a typical year at year 20 of this contract. What does that look like?
Well, again, we envision to enter into a lease agreement with a sole entity and point of contact. But from an operational basis and point of view, we would have, a day-to-day day-to-day operations manager and a contact that we can speak to regarding a whole host of issues. Obviously, we have many different departments within the authority as projects come up, as planning comes up, as maintenance issues come up, or facilities issues. So that dialogue is ongoing, similar to our current operations right now. The Office of Traveler Services and Operations, which is where I am, and my colleague Daryl, most of that does get funneled through us for that day-to-day, and then we engage our other colleagues and offices as appropriate.
Could you all expand on the evaluation criteria and priorities of the Thruway Authority itself? Are you all looking for a major capital project, or is the priority on the fee proposal or revenue share to the authority? The two are kind of competing. I've got a follow-up as well.
The RFP sets forth what the criteria are in section.
Those are all mentioned, so is there any sort of weighting that you all could share with us to let us know what the primary focus is?
At the current time, the intent is not to share that weighting. Our standard procedure with regard to personal service contracts is that the weighting of the different criteria is not shared up front. That said, the purpose of the whole procurement process and our meeting today is to encourage you to submit your questions and issues that you take note of. And the RFP, as I'm sure you noticed, builds in a process for us, if we elect to make a change, to publish that change in an addendum that would become part of the RFP.
And then secondly, have you all contemplated the ability of the proposer to shut down any service plazas? Or is the intention to keep all 27 operating at one of those levels?
The present intention is to keep all 27 food service facilities open.
Would any proposal that included a closure of any of the plazas be considered non-compliant, or would it be considered?
We set out minimum requirements as it relates to levels of service in the exhibit and the conceptual plan. That addresses that specifically on minimum required for certain levels, level 1 specifically. And that's under the requirements.
I have two questions. The first question is, are the new properties going to be taxable or untaxable, number one? And number two, is each one of these 27 sites going to have to go through the local municipality for a building process approval?
When you say that the new properties, I just want to clarify, we're talking about the 27 existing, okay, just to be clear.
New building.
Got it. The 27 food service facilities, namely the service areas that are subject of the RFP, the lands on which they sit are not subject to real property taxes, and that's set forth in the Thruway Authority's enabling statute. So Public Authorities Law, Section 371, says that the Thruway Authority's real property is exempt from taxation.
As far as the building code, do you want to talk to that?
I'll answer the second question. The authority is a self-permitting agency, so all building permits would be issued by Mr. Nacarato's office and/or compliance officers. We have one in each of 4 divisions. That's where they would go through. If you would need to get permits, now, we wouldn't say permits, but if we had to work with outside agencies, Department of Health, for instance, that would, it would help assist with that.
Two finance-related questions. First is, states here that all of the improvements will be owned by the authority. However, I just wanted to confirm that the authority will allow for the granting of a leasehold mortgage to third-party lenders to finance the debt portion of the cost of the improvement.
I didn't follow the question. We built in right now in the key terms in Appendix B a recognition that the leasehold may be used as collateral.
Okay, just
And
wanted
we
to.
also indicate that the lease agreement will contain provisions associated with that type of transaction that are standard.
Okay, thanks. Second question is, I presume it'll be up to the consortium submitting bids to decide how they're going to finance the improvements, whether the financing is done on a taxable or tax-exempt basis. And if the bidding consortium chooses to finance on a tax-exempt basis or even partially on a tax-exempt basis, will the authority cooperate with the bidding teams in the issuance of publicly offered tax-exempt bonds, and even in the potential application for private activity bond allocation with the Department of Transportation?
That's a question that we're going to have to, that we will address in writing. It is new for the authority to contemplate use of a leasehold as collateral. So it's not a provision that we've included before, and we're going to have to give appropriate thought to how it will be addressed in the lease agreement.
Thank you. The properties will be leased on an absolute triple net basis according to the RFP. They have incurred expenses historically that has been paid for by the Thruway Authority. Will the authority make available the expenses that have historically been incurred to operate the facilities to the lessees? And another question is regarding the maintenance of the water sewer component of the Thruway facilities, which are quite extensive. Will that be transferred to the lessees as well?
To answer your second question quickly, the operation and maintenance of the wastewater treatment plants will be staying in the Thruway Authority's control and not be transferred to the operator.
Okay, and that includes the wells also?